Now that you're familiar with the fundamentals of JavaScript, we need to quickly talk about JavaScript versions and why we use something called ES5 in this course. I could probably have talked about this right at the beginning of the course, but I just wanted you to jump right into code. But it's really important to talk about JavaScript versions because that's something that every modern developer should know, and because there's always a lot of talk going on in the JavaScript community about these topics today. So in order to do that, we need to very briefly talk about the history of JavaScript. So JavaScript was first released and called LiveScript in 1995, but was very quickly changed to JavaScript. And the reason for that change was just to attract developers of another language that was very popular at the time, and that's Java. So the Java in JavaScript was really just for marketing reasons, because the language itself has almost nothing to do with Java. Some beginners think that this is the case, but no, JavaScript and Java are two completely different things. Then, 1 year later, the language was submitted to an organization called ECMA International in order to create a new language standard. So ECMAScript 1 became the first version of the JavaScript language. In the real world, we use the term ECMAScript to refer to the standard, while JavaScript is used when we talk about the language in practice. Now, fast forward to 2009, ECMAScript 5, also called ES5, was released with a lot of new features. However, it took many years for browsers to implement all these changes, and it's only today that we can use ES5 without any restrictions. And then finally, the much awaited new version ECMAScript 6 was launched in June 2015, and it was the biggest update to the language ever, with a lot of new features. And this was, or actually still is, a really big deal for JavaScript and the whole community. And you will see this new version being called ECMAScript 6 or ES6, but they actually decided to call it ECMAScript 2015 or ES2015, because from now on, a new version will come out every year with a few minor updates. So in June 2016, ES2016 was released, with only a few changes, so it was almost an unnoticeable release. So how does JavaScript look like today, and which version should and can we use? So as I mentioned before, ES5 is now fully supported by modern browsers, and so we can say that it's safe to use it today. Now, with the new release ES2015, unfortunately it's not so easy. And that's because browser support is still pretty bad as of September 2016, as we can see here in this compatibility table. And especially in Internet Explorer and mobile browsers is where support is not so good. So it's safe to say that we're not good to use ES2015 even now, more than 1 year after its release. And the problem is that it will probably stay like this for some time. Alright, and for ES2015, that was just released in June 2016, support is of course even worse. But that's not really a problem, because it doesn't even have more than 1 or 2 useful features anyway. So I will now explain why we use ES5 throughout this course. So you remember that ES5 was released in 2009, which is a long time ago. But you also remember that browser support for ES2015 and 2016 is not good at all. So after thinking about this really hard, I decided that I had to use ES5 to teach you JavaScript in this course. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first one is of course that browsers haven't really adopted ES2015 as of today. And since it will take a couple of years until it's safe to write ES2015 in production code, you will never be outdated with ES5. In fact, I will also show you ES2015 later in this course. Also, I think it's extremely important for you to know how to code things the ES5 way, and also to understand it, for 2 big reasons. And the first is that almost all tutorials and code that you find on the web today is still in ES5. And in the case that you will be working on someone else's code, like an older code base or some older project, it will certainly be written in ES5. And finally, in my opinion, it's going to be easier for you to learn JavaScript with the ES5 standard rather than jumping right into ES2015. Alright, but once again, don't worry about becoming outdated with your skills or something, because of course we will also talk about ES2015 and even 16 in this course. So there will be a dedicated section at the end of the course where I'm going to show you the most important things that have changed in the new JavaScript.